When I was 7, my mom handed me a pamphlet and was just like, read this.
Mom gave me some book, and that was it.
Yeah, what was the book called?
I forget. It was some American Girl doll book.
Oh my god, was it all about girls? Yeah, with the girls in the town.
Yeah.
And then when I was 8, I got the American Girl book. I don't know if like everyone gets those books, but like all girls get those books. You know, the 3 girls on the cover, like the Asian girl, the black girl, and the white girl, and they're all in their towels. And so we all have those American Girl books. So that's also how I learned about my period.
My name is Minhas. I'm a communication studies major at Temple University. I'm a photographer and I'm also the co-founder of Anti-Shame Week.
Mother Nature's coming. I have a period app. It says like something like your flowers are about to like bloom. Like it makes it really cute and delicate. And I'm like, there's nothing like, I mean, there's something, I don't really think there's anything cute and delicate. I think there's something powerful about having a period, but not really anything that's cute and delicate. Something that we have to like dress up and make pretty.
I think all of her will be, bleeding. She's bleeding, or I mean, I can talk about how a lot of people stereotype girls when they're in bad mood. That's something that I encounter a lot.
I speak in Vietnamese, so when I first had it, over here we say, oh, I have my period. But in Vietnam, instead of saying that word period, we say, oh, I have it. Or like, oh, it started yesterday. Or even the conversation that I used to have with a couple of friends over here as well, especially like guy friends who are sensitive about it. I wouldn't use the word, oh, I have my period. I would just say, oh, yeah, I had it yesterday since yesterday.
In the same way, why are you so freaked out by the word menstruation? I mean, it's not going to bite you. And I think that is one of the things I still encounter, is people are literally afraid to say the word menstruating.
You know, people like fear what they don't know. So I guess if like you're not really familiar with periods, it's kind of just like like handle that over there type of thing. Like, I don't really want to know what's going on. Just fix it. So I don't got to see it or whatever.
People who have periods and it's like very seen as like dirty. Like, I think that's like a message that people really have in their head. Like I think it's like connected to the idea that like women's sexuality is something that's like dirty, but also just in general, it's like, oh, like that's just a dirty thing and we don't talk about it.
So in July 2015, Ellie Richardson and I founded Anti-Shame Week. At the time, it was an online campaign that was going to run on Tribe Media's blog page. The campaign ended up running with 7 different creatives on the second week of September for 7 days. By the end of it, both Ellie and I were absolutely floored with just how it had developed as a project and also our ideas of the potential of where we could take the campaign. My request for a grant was accepted and I began work immediately. We began reaching out to different groups and we eventually came up with 4 different events. The first event was on Monday the 18th of April and we held a tampon drive throughout campus where I was accompanied by several students and we walked around with, we first were at the student centre and then we walked around with a container and a poster. It was definitely more interactive than I expected and I absolutely loved it. It created some really, really interesting and important conversations with all different types of people.
So it's like all the same reaction, like, oh, I'm glad you guys are doing this. Like, I'm sorry, I wish I had some, or like, here, I'm so glad to give some. Some girls, it was weird. I feel like some girls were like almost ashamed of it at first, but then like when I had just asked, and then when like Anti-Shame Week came out, they were just like, oh, like that's such a good thing. Like, I really like could get behind that. Like, I understand that whole concept.
And we did receive an amazing amount of donations that we will be donating to the Morris Home in West Philadelphia, which is a great organisation that helps out the trans community. I really wanted to focus on the LGBTQ community on campus and even in Philadelphia, because I think that is yet another marginalised group that doesn't get a platform to talk about some really important social issues. On the Wednesday, the 20th of April, I partnered with the student organisation Queer People of Colour, and we held a small discussion circle for about 2 hours where we just talked about all the different parts and concepts and ideas and issues of stigmatizing menstruation in not only just the world, but also in different social groups.
Wednesday, I guess we talked about the shame that surrounds period talk, how it affects different people in different layers and stuff like that, and how it's perceived as womanhood or non-womanhood, or how that defines even just a woman and what that means, and how it's something that affects, like you were saying, over 50% of the population, and how something as just as a bodily function is just so common and such a thread that can bring together so many different people from different walks of life, regardless of identity, but on the togetherness of it being an issue that is being ignored and kind of pushed to the side and seen as a certain person's problem, or until like we talked about, it was able to be commodified or capitalized on.
And I feel like in the United States we focus so much on the G in LGBT, but we don't focus on the other parts of it, especially the T. Like, that's just ignored. And when you have these drives like tampon drives and all these things, like, that group never gets access to it, and I feel like it's extremely unfortunate.
We assume that because you're a woman, then you will have periods, but that's not true.
People who have periods aren't always what society views them as having periods. So trans men or other people have that, or non-conforming people also are still having that kind of bodily function. So I think it. By categorizing it by sex or by anatomy parts or by representation, I think this allows people from truly developing some type of knowledge or some type of comprehensive idea of what it means to have periods and what goes into that.
For people who were like alive, maybe like 100 years ago, it would be ridiculous to think about like people trying to make money off of periods and be like what? Why is that a thing? But it's like a huge business. And it's like, why is money being spent on, advertising for like a product that is just necessary?
Thursday, the 21st of April, I partnered with She's the First, another student organisation on Temple's campus, to host a speaker series called Empowering the Girls. And Empowering the Girls consisted of 2 speakers, Patrice Banks, who is the founder of Girls Auto Clinic in Philadelphia, and Julie Baker, the director from Houses to Homes.
Say, listen, I look like you and you and you. You don't have to look a certain way, you don't have to talk a certain way, you don't have to. I'm an engineer that wore heels, but I want to learn about cars, I want to learn about cars.
We have more boys at the school than girls because families let their boys go to school, not their daughters. But we're working with families on that to get the girls, because that will change the life of the whole family if the girl is educated.
We decided we were going to create a campaign that used the arts as a form of narrative storytelling, art therapy expression, and a point of discussion to talk about menstruation and to talk about all the many related global and social issues. April 22nd, I partnered with the Tyler School of Art at Temple to host a small art show, a mini exhibit where we showed relevant work. So again, focus on the more creative side of Anti-Shame Week and talking about how art and different forms of creativity can help to encourage discussion and just serve as an outlet for people to have conversations they might not usually have or can't usually have.
The big thing is that, much like with a lot of things in my generation, no one talked about anything. Like, you didn't talk about menstruation much, like you didn't talk about a variety of other biological functions. I mean, you certainly didn't talk about sex, right? And I think that started to change, I noted, not through my peers, but when I would hear my students talk, that there was more of an open discussion. That was a lot different than when I'm thinking about when I was in college.
My mom kind of told me, because when my sister, who's 17, or she's about to be 17 now, I think it's weird. I think she was like 10 or 11 or 12 when she started getting her period. So I would be really mad at her sometimes, be like, Lauren's acting like this or Lauren's acting like that. Mom would be like, okay, like, I think you should just give her a break because she's just going through stuff. I'm like, what is she going through? Like, she's 11. My mom would be like, eventually she was like, all right, I just gotta like tell him so he knows like what's going on and he can just like be educated about it.
This is such a meaningful, incredibly powerful project, and it's so unique. I can honestly say in 26 years of teaching, I've never seen a project like this. First, I think that it raises awareness. Second, I think hopefully it raises accessibility, particularly toward products, hygienic products, but also discussions.
With a campaign like Anti-Shame Week, the world can definitely benefit, the entire world can benefit from it.
There is no possible justification in any global setting for a woman or trans person to be separated from a greater society because of a biological function.